over what you see. Is it, if you're watching early, it may have been rough. And maybe better the further you got through the game, but what did you see?
Look, I think I'm talking about the entire game here. I thought Nick Caley was absolutely elite, y'all. I mean, and I said elite. I said capital ELITE. Nick Caley was elite this entire game, from having his guys prepared to the plan that he put together, to the adjustments that they made, the feel for what would work and kind of what to do and when to do it. The timing of certain play calls, getting back to, making a big time play and then pulling the reins back and getting back into some of the things that was working, using your quick game, your mid-range game, your shots, your some just so many different little intricacies here to offensive football that Nick Caley he put it together, beautifully. And it was never more apparent, obviously, than the fourth quarter, but there were some really, really, really good things well before the scoring in the fourth quarter started. There were some misses. There were obviously some turnovers, or a turnover.
You're saying some misses that don't really fall on Nick Caley.
Yeah, no, they don't. They don't fall on Nick Caley. Whether it's the quarterback missing the throw, or it's the quarterback, or it's, a little protection breakdown here or there. It doesn't take away from what Nick Caley was able to draw up. And I'm gonna say this: in the second half of this game, was hands down the best offensive football that I've seen from a Texans unit, all things considered, this year. That was the best quarterback play that we've seen.
Even against over the Ravens and the Niners?
Yes. Yeah. Look, and now look, there's not discrediting any of that, but that was good. But this was great. This was, again, I can't emphasize enough about, the opening, the opener in a drive, man, you just take the hitch versus a soft corner, right? The opening of a drive, you just take the stack route to Higgins, which is a 10-yard hitch, to start a drive, or to convert a third down, and driving the football down the middle of the field to Nico Collins and fitting it in a tight window, and everybody saying, "Oh, he should have done that." No, it was a great throw. It was a linebacker carrying underneath with his back to the quarterback. It was a great throw. It was a great catch. The very next snap, you come back and you don't get overly excited and try to take shots in the end zone. You just boom, boom, boom. You go right back to taking the underneath stuff that is there. It was, in the second half, was absolutely tremendous offensive football and tremendous quarterback play. The overall game, Nick Caley was really, really elite with how he just kept dialing up. Davis Mills misses a corner throw to Nico Collins. Don't worry about it. We're going to come back and we're going to find another way to throw a touchdown. Right? It was just, there were probably 5 or 6 plays in this game that were either touchdowns that we didn't see or we overthrew, or throws that went somewhere else that would have been big-time chunk plays had the quarterback seen it. It was really good. And it started with the interception in the first drive. You got bang routes by Nico Collins, and I think it was Xavier Hutchinson, similar routes on both sides, and you're getting an all-out pressure.
You said there was something there, too.
You're getting an all-out pressure. There's nobody in the middle of the field. You're getting an all-out pressure. If Davis Mills just throws the ball to the middle of the field, either way, it is a huge chunk play, if not a touchdown, a hit your head on the goalpost touchdown. But instead, we throw a pick, right? The drop by Dalton Schultz over the middle of the field on third, was it third or fourth? It was fourth down, wasn't it?
It was third down.
But, that is a hit your head on the goalpost type of play. Definitely a chunk, if not a touchdown. Both of the overthrows on corners, one of them looked like a misinterpretation between him and Nico. I don't know if Nico looked over the wrong shoulder or Davis threw it over the wrong shoulder, but that was the miss to Higgins on the crossing route touchdown. The miss to Nico on the corner where he just overthrew it off the end of his fingertips. These are all plays that went for naught. Forget the ones that were the Higgins touchdown, the Dalton Schultz touchdown, the Dalton Schultz catch on third down to keep that drive alive, the Jalen Knoll throw over the top that was a big chunk play. When you talk about an offensive coordinator being in his bag and an offensive coordinator Like free throw, it's not a tight window throw. I mean, you got throws in the ocean. You had obvious reads. You had quick throws. You had easy throws. I mean, it was.
So what
it
was
was
the
a
difference?
clinic, man.
What was the difference? What did you see that they did that was different? I mean, especially not having CJ, not having whatever they were doing up front, the issues they had. What was different from this performance, which it sounds like this was clearly Nick Caley's best performance?
It was definitely Nick Caley's best performance. And look, I think some of it had to do with obviously the opponent. You weren't facing a top 5 defensive front. I rank this, when you look at the Texans' wins, I rank this as the most impressive win, right? I would have had it right there with the 49ers after the game, just in a sense of quality win. Obviously, the Jacksonville game would probably be a little higher because of the way in which they did it in the fourth quarter comeback. But this, unlike the Baltimore game, this, unlike the 49ers game, those two games, forget the Titans, but those two games, the 49ers and the Ravens, I watched their defensive front and I was like, this is embarrassing. Yeah. Their general, you can't tell me that you don't have better dudes that'll try harder, that'll go harder as depth on your team than this bunch right here. I mean, maybe that's because I watched D'Amico and the depth that they have over here, and those guys play hard and make plays regardless. But I watched that film, and I'll be honest with you. I watched the film for Baltimore, and I watched the film for San Francisco, and it took the wind out of my sails because of how poor the defenses were. They didn't
take a huge effort to dial things up.
Those guys either were not very good at all across the board, like just zero threat, or they quit. Like Baltimore, those guys just basically quit and were just getting pushed around. Like, this was not a group that quit. This was not a group that was getting pushed around. This was not – this was the Texans imposing their will on a good defense in this league. Not a great defense. I'm not gonna sound like they went in there and slayed the dragon, but they went in there and it was because the Texans were doing certain things – and doing it in a certain fashion that they put themselves in position to come back. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I saw the 26 points in the fourth quarter coming. I mean, there's a lot of crazy things that happen in that part of the game from the offensive side of it. But
but they got 3 legit drives that weren't turnovers. They had 3 legit drives to score 3 touchdowns in that. It's interesting because I'm watching that, Clint, and I'm like, because to hear you talk about Nick was so impressive. I'm watching. I'm like, man, looks like Davis is just making some throws out there. Like the Schultz touchdown in the back of the end zone. I feel like that was kind of like Davis just kind of buying some time and making throws right there. But it's interesting. You look and you see as much Davis making plays